Good evening and welcome into Sportszone. I'm your host, Justin Ballou. The Mean Green football team is fresh off their bye week after a thrilling win over the FAU Owls in their last game a couple weeks ago. Now this weekend they will welcome in the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs as they look to stay undefeated in Conference USA play. Here to preview this weekend's matchup, we have analysts Tyler Luker and Alex Weister. Guys, this FAU game seems like it happened like a month ago after a crazy weekend we had of college football last weekend. But give me your thoughts on a 45-28 win last 2 weekends ago for the Mean Green.
Well, the defense finally stepped up. In the second half, they only gave up one touchdown. They really came to play, forcing 2 interceptions from a quarterback that went toe-to-toe with Purdue. Really good showing for the defense.
Yeah, Rich Tejada had a pick six. They held quarterback Nikasi Perry to 26 of 50 through the air. So we finally saw a good game from the defense. Alex, what did you like about that win?
The run game, of course, is still as dominant as we've seen. They have a 3-headed monster in Adeye, Attaway, and Ragsdale. They have just been phenomenal on the ground. They are second in rushing in the CUSA, and I hope to see that going forward.
I love when they can get all those guys involved. All three of those backs are really, really solid backs, and we know the key to this offense is the run game, and we finally saw it working. Pair that with a good defensive performance, and you finally get a win. So 2-0 in conference play now. Obviously, that UTEP game happening week 1, still on top of Conference USA, tied with UTSA. So can this team compete and maybe even win Conference USA this season, or am I just overthinking here?
Well, honestly, yes. I mean, going into the season, you didn't really think that, but it all comes down to playing up to your competition. Going forward this week, we're going to see it again. But if they can manage to really play up to their competition and not stoop down low, they're going to have a chance to win this conference.
Alex, can they win it?
As we've seen, UTEP and FAU are not the strongest of competition when it comes to the CUSA. But when it comes to, let's say, UTSA or Western Kentucky, if they can go toe-to-toe with one of those teams and maybe even keep it competitive or win one of those games, I think they do have a chance of actually winning the CUSA title.
Yeah, the Mean Green will go to UTSA next week, so that's going to be a really tough one. But let's get into this La Tech game now. This is not a team that UNT has had success against. 7-13 all-time is the record for the Mean Green, 1-5 under head coach Seth Luttrell. So why does UNT always struggle against La Tech?
Maybe some good Cajun food, nice crawfish boil. I don't understand because La Tech hasn't really been that successful as of late. It's been 4 years in a row they've lost to them. Last year, they had a chance to win the game late, couldn't come up with it. But they're 7-point favorites going into this week, so it may be a change.
Yeah, definitely a game they should win this weekend. But Alex, why can't they crack La Tech?
It's really confusing. When you look at the losses that they've had, it's never the same thing. It's always something different. Now, of course, they've held on to some lackluster performances the past couple of years, but overall, it just seems like the La Tech defense is playing a little bit better than UNT's, and that's what's getting them the win. So hopefully we're going to see, of course, UNT's defense has made some strides, so let's see if they can perform better than La Tech's this week and get them that win.
Yeah, UNT definitely should win this game and need to win this game to stay atop Conference USA. So how important is it to get a win this weekend, obviously before that UTSA game next weekend?
It's so crucial. I mean, it would move them 3-0 in Conference USA. Nobody's really got a stranglehold yet on the conference, and to put them tied at the top with UTSA, it would set them up for success, maybe even a bowl game. It's so important.
Alex, is it a must-win? Should we go there?
I would say it is on borderline must-win territory. Every single game, of course, in conference play is important. Now, as I said before, it's not on the same level as facing Western Kentucky or UTSA, but being 3-0 in your conference and separating yourselves from the middle of the pack is going to be something that UNT needs to do in order to make strides for winning the CUSA title.
Yeah, lots of tough road games left on the schedule this season too. So coming off a bye week, obviously they had a win, so you feel pretty good going into the bye week. So now coming out of the bye week, what do we want to see happen this weekend, and give me some keys to the game?
Well, my first key to the game is called stand up straight. You don't want to stoop down to your competition. You're a 7-point favorite going into this week. You've had a couple challenge games where you lose, like SMU, Memphis, UNLV. Those games you might be able to try and win, but they fell up short. But need to stand up, win these favorable matchups. Second key to the game, run as fast as you can, like the gingerbread man. Attaway, Adeye, and Ragsdale, they're phenomenal. Over 300 yards rushing last week. All sophomores, so they might be good to go in the future. But when UNT is playing winning football, they're rushing the ball.
Really quickly, Alex, give me your keys to the game.
The defense has to keep going with the consistency that they've had in the past couple of games. So if they can keep going and improve on what they've done the past couple of games, they can win this game.
Well, UNT and La Tech, this rivalry is not going to be dead because they have a scheduled home and home next year in Ruston and then 2028 back in Denton. So keeping this rivalry alive for the better part of this next decade. Stay with us through the break. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and how they're 4-1. This is crazy here in Dallas.
Dear humans, this is an adoption campaign, but it's not for me, or Mr. Buttons, or Frank over there. It's for you, humans. This is a call to humans to adopt our movement, to adopt our cause.
This isn't just about saving one of us.
It's about saving all of us.
Thousands of lives, every single day.
It's about support for every one of us four, and sometimes not four-legged best friends waiting to meet a best friend of our own. With Best Friends Animal Society leading the charge.
Shelter by shelter, city by city.
We can save thousands of pets each day. Join us. Together we can save them all.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
I call you and say, I'm with the IRS. You owe back taxes, and if you don't pay today, you're going to jail. You can fix this by sending cash. Did you actually believe me? Too smart to fall for it? Well, last year, Americans paid $100 million to guys like me. 1 in 6 people were scammed. Can you believe it? Well, you shouldn't. I just made that up, too. You are a little gullible.
About them Dallas Cowboys. Fresh off an upset win over the Los Angeles Rams, defending Super Bowl champions last weekend, the Cowboys are back in the national spotlight this Sunday when they travel to Philadelphia for some Sunday night football. Here to break down this weekend's game, we have analysts Caleb Blanton and Drew Maurer. Guys, that was crazy last weekend, a 22-10 win, defending Super Bowl champions. Give me your thoughts on being 4-1 with Cooper Rush, Caleb.
Yeah, no, it was pretty surprising. I mean, I don't think many people would have seen this, them being 4-1. For me, honestly, I saw them losing to the Bengals and the Rams. I didn't see them having enough offensive firepower to beat those teams, but they did. They surprised me.
They are overperforming for sure. Drew, 4-1. How does it feel to be a Cowboys fan right now?
Hey, I said it last week, Justin. I know you remember. I said they had a chance against the Rams, and guess what? They came out and they did exactly what I said they would. They forced turnovers, and they won the game. Bad air attack, though. 76 total yards to the air if you account for the sacks rushed through for 102, excuse me. But good on the ground. I mean, Tony Pollard, he's that dude. He looked legit. He had multiple explosive plays, including that big touchdown. But both backs were impressive, let me add that. Ezekiel Elliott was great as well, so definitely a really good outing. And the special teams were the MVP. There's the Tony Pollard touchdown, though, right there. Actually, that's not the touchdown, but that's a big run from Tony Pollard. And, I mean, that just exemplifies the good game he had. No, that was the touchdown. Excuse me. It was the touchdown he had. And that just really exemplifies the good game that Tony Pollard had and how the run game was able to carry them, even when Rush may not be, performing to the standards that Dak might play at those times.
And you mentioned the defense, the run game, kind of like UNT. That's always the key for Dallas under Cooper Rush. Is this Dallas defense, we saw it again last week, a scoop and score touchdown on the first possession of the game for the Rams. Is this defense the best unit in the entire NFL, Caleb?
Well, I said it on a couple shows ago that this was the best defense, and I still stand on that. I mean, from front to back, this defense is playing really well. Last year, you didn't see the secondary playing that well, but this year they're playing so much better, and the pass rush is getting there. The defense is definitely the top team.
Yeah, they certainly have an argument to be the top defense in the NFL. Micah Parsons may be the defensive player of the year when all is said and done. He certainly looks that way now. Drew, is this the best unit in the NFL?
Well, I would say if the Buffalo Bills had all their players in, then they wouldn't be. But since the entire secondary for them is out, then yes, they are. And I feel like you got to mention the special teams too. I mean, the special teams performed really well the other day, and that's been a key factor for the Cowboys as well. And we've seen teams crumble with that special teams. Green Bay Packers in particular last season. Special teams are just as important as defense and offense, and I feel like the Cowboys have really excelled there as well.
Now let's talk quarterbacks, because by no means is Cooper Rush lighting it up, but he is managing the game perfectly, exactly how the Cowboys need him to right now. So how important is it for Dak to get back right now for this team? We've seen 4-0 for Cooper Rush. You see it right there compared to Jalen Hurts. Yeah. Same number of touchdown passes this season. So this team keeps winning games. It's not sexy on offense by any means, but how important is it to get Dak back fully healthy now, Drew?
I mean, it's important, but it's not like the most significant thing in the world. It's not a dire need for them to get Dak back. I mean, they're posed up to be either 4-2 or 5-1 without Dak Prescott, which is better than they have said for the past few seasons. So I think that getting Dak back is not the number one thing right now. Keep playing Rush until Dak's 100%. And like I said last week, we have seen Dak struggle not playing at 100%, playing at 75, 80%. He's not himself, and he's very turnover prone. So I mean, you want Dak to be 100%, and if he's not, then go with Rush. Even against arguably the best team in the NFL, you got to roll with your guns. You got to stick with what's been working for you.
Yeah, a tough game this Sunday, but then after that, you got the Lions and Bears coming into Dallas after that for two very winnable games. So, Caleb, can Cooper Rush get them to 3 wins, or even 2-1 would be solid in this 3-game stretch?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the defense is what's winning this team games. He isn't doing that, but as long as he can just manage the game, do what he needs to do, don't make any turnover plays, and just make enough plays to win the game, they can definitely win these games, because the defense is why they're winning these games.
All right, now let's talk about this rivalry game. Eagles-Cowboys, one of the best rivalries in all of sports. The NFC East this year is surprisingly overperforming, especially for Dallas and New York. New York's 4-1, Dallas 4-1. Philadelphia, the only undefeated team left in the NFL at 5-0. So how does Dallas, we've already seen them play the Commanders and Giants, obviously. Where do they stand in this division just compared to all of these teams?
I mean, they're extremely competitive in this division. And we've seen the past few years that the Eagles and Cowboys, it hasn't been a good game for, the Eagles are bad or the Cowboys are bad. It just hasn't been that rivalry. And finally having the Cowboys-Eagles classic rivalry back, I mean, the NFL is so much better when you have it. But the Cowboys already beat the other opponent that they would be needing to go against in the New York Giants with Cooper Rush. So really, I think the only threat to the Cowboys is the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're going to see them go up against them and really find out if the Cowboys have a chance in the NFC East this year.
What do you think, Caleb?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, right now, the Eagles, they're the better team to me right now, just because of the offense. Obviously, Dak isn't there, but I mean, that's the main reason why that is. But also, Jalen Hurts has been doing his thing. He's been playing his best ball, I think he has this entire season. And then you have weapons like Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and Miles Sanders. This offense is really nice, and Dallas is going to have to play their best.
Well, one of the best rivalries in the NFL is renewed this Sunday on Sunday Night Football, Eagles, Cowboys, in Philadelphia. Stay with us through the break. We're going to talk about the UNT soccer season and how it hasn't quite gone how we expected it to.
Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Oiga mi amigo, Don Medford, Texas. Oiga mi amigo, Don Medford, Texas. Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Tira la basura en el bote. En el bote, en el bote, en el bote. Somos papi chulo, recuerden, Don Medford, Texas, y'all.
Every child deserves a future. Every last child. That's why we do whatever it takes to ensure children grow up healthy, learning, and safe. Right here in the U.S. and around the world, just as we have for nearly 100 years. When it comes to children, we know that even the smallest act can make a big difference. By changing children's lives now, we're changing the course of their futures and ours. Join us.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
welcome back into Sportszone. Soccer season is winding down here in Denton as our Mean Green are entering a stretch run in their final 4 matches of the Conference USA season. Here to talk some UNT soccer, we have analysts Brandon Brown and Brendan O'Donnell. So guys, for the better part of the last 3 decades, UNT soccer has been the sport to watch here at North Texas. So many conference championships. Things aren't going quite as we expected them to this season. 7-5-2 is the total record on the year, 3-2-1 in conference play. So Brandon, what hasn't quite gone right for this team so far? And just give me your thoughts on the season.
There's been a lot of offensive woes. There's been many a game where we haven't been able to score a goal yet. And on a team that used to just be so dominant on offense, it's been a real struggle coming up this season.
Brendan, like you were saying, we can't score against these good teams. We can't get a signature win. That's what we used to do. I mean, we used to beat everybody, didn't matter who it was. Whenever I first came here in 2018, we were beating Alabama all the time, Oklahoma. Like, it didn't matter what Big 12 SEC school we were facing. Like, we were the powerhouse. We were doing amazing. But now we have not been able to capture that signature win. Every team with a winning record, we have not been able to get a win or even much of a tie against. We can't score on them. So I don't know if we'll get that signature win either because we're facing 4 losing teams the rest of this season.
Yeah, conference play hasn't quite gone as we expected it to. 3-2-1 on conference play. Their last 2 games was a tie 0-0 against UAB and then a 2-0 loss to Rice. So why is this team underperforming in conference play so far?
You know, it's been Olivia Klein's world, and we're just living in it. The offensive kind of supporting cast just hasn't been able to step up. It just seems like she's the only player who's consistently coming out, performing each week, and there's just been so much lackluster offensive play and offensive scheming that it's just turning into bleh. You know?
Yeah, certainly a lot of new players on this team too. Lots of new faces, some freshmen. So Brendan, how much of a role has that played in the team's underperforming this year?
I mean, it's a rebuild. We came out of COVID. We've come through a lot of rebuilds in these last few seasons. We're not used to this. Our expectations are usually through the roof. This is one of our best things at UNT. Like, for sure. We have John Hedlund, who has 16 conference titles since he got here. So it's tough to live up to that expectation every single season. I mean, you see it in every sport. Greg Popovich with the Spurs, 5 championships, and now they can't win a game. Bill Belichick, same thing. Last 2 seasons with the Patriots, just hasn't been able to win. But that doesn't mean the coaching is the problem, anything is the problem. It's just a rebuild. You're getting new players, their play time. And in a couple seasons, I think we can really put it together.
Well, 14 games in the books, 4 more to go as we take a look at their final 4 games in the season, starting tonight at Florida International, and then next weekend against UTSA, a rivalry game that's always a lot of fun before they close out against UTEP and La Tech. 4 losing teams here in their final 4 games, as you mentioned. So what has to happen for UNT to get some wins and put themselves in good position going into the conference tournament?
You know, I think John Hedlund, he's done a great job. He's a great coach. Bill Belichick of UNT Sports, I would call him. But I want to see him kind of play around with some new stuff, you know. He's going against losing teams. There's not a lot to lose with these because we're probably going to end up winning most of these, if not all of them. I want to see him switch them up, you know, switch up some schemes and get some role players out there.
I'd love to see this exact same thing as well. These are 4 teams that we're probably going to pad our stats against. I mean, our stats look great, and it's because the teams that we do already play that have losing records, we beat 4-0, 3-1. I mean, Charlotte's 3-7-3, and we beat them 4-1 just a few weeks back. So I don't see why we're not going to win all these games, but when it gets to the tournament and we do need to get those signature wins that we have not been able to get, I think we do need to change up some schemes, figure it out, give some players an opportunity to really show up. Maybe we don't have the right people in. I mean, 2 of our forwards have underperformed a little bit. We've got Maddie Drenowitz with 5 goals and not a single goal in the last 8 matches. We've got Devin Flannery with 3 goals and only 1 in the last 10 matches. So they were kind of front-loading a whole lot, and since then we haven't been able to score. We've been scoreless in 4 of our last 8 games. So this offense really needs to find something to get clicking with them, or we're going to go into this tournament and get a first-round exit like the last 2 years.
Yeah, 2 players to watch there. Obviously, you mentioned Olivia Klein, the star of this team, as always. 8 goals and 20 points on the season, leads the team in both those categories. Always very consistent. Give me some more key players, Brandon. Who are you watching? Who needs to step up for this team in these last 4 games?
You know, I have a weird feeling that Taylor Tufts isn't done with this season. I think she's had some great plays. She's had some great moments, a lot of potential, but I think this is when she really steps up in these final 4 games. Hopefully she can become kind of that role player alongside of Olivia Klein. And then you mentioned her earlier, Madison Drenowitz. I want to see her kind of step it up as well. Again, another great player, a really high ceiling, I believe, but we just haven't seen all what she can do yet.
Yeah, and Tufts led us in assists last year, I believe. I'd love to see her get other people involved as well. I mean, it's easy to give it to Olivia Klein every single time, but maybe we really should take Klein out for a little bit in these games that we know we're going to win to give people an opportunity to really get some momentum going as we get closer and closer to this conference tournament.
Well, everything comes down to coaching. John Hedlund is the man. Just look at his career tenure here at UNT. Has coached this program for the last 27 years since its inception back in 1995. Actually used to coach the UNT men's soccer team before they disbanded that in 1994. 16 conference championships over that span, 0 losing seasons most importantly, and 7 NCAA tournament wins, or tournament appearances as well. Winningest coach in UNT sports history. So we definitely hope he will return for a 28th season next season. Well, coming up next, we're going to talk about the Dallas Stars and their puck drop happening tonight. NHL hockey is back.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back into Sportszone. I'm your host, Justin Ballou. The puck drops for a brand new season of Dallas Stars hockey tonight as the Stars take on the Nashville Predators. Here to preview the Stars season and get you ready for hockey, we have analysts Nicholas O'Gelley and Matthew Wagner. So guys, before we talk about the stars of this Stars team, let's talk about the new head coach. Pete DeBoer comes in, Rick Bowness steps down after a long tenure with the Dallas Stars. So Matthew, how different do you think the scheme and just the overall outlook of this team is going to look this year?
Well, what we saw with Dallas and Bowness, it was a more defensive system, right? And bring this new guy, DeBoer, in, he's a more offensive-minded coach, right? So I think we'll see an uptick in points from Ben, maybe Sagan. And we'll definitely see a more offensive style, and that's what the fans have been clamoring for the last 2 or 3 years. So I'm excited to see what this team can do.
What do you think, Nick?
I mean, last year the Stars were frankly boring to watch, and that's not just coming from me, a guy who watches football and basketball, but the Dallas Stars will look for them to play much faster, as that is what Pete is known for doing on his offensive teams. And, you know, I mean, I'm not saying anything, but whenever he steps into a new role, it seems like they go all the way, but
that's true.
I don't know about us.
Well, obviously, the re-signing of Jason Robertson last week, we talked about that in the off-season recap, was huge for this team. The big three, well, obviously you could argue Joe Pavelski and Rupe Hintz are part of the big three, but the big names on the Stars, Jason Robertson, Tyler Sagan, and Jamie Benn are all back for another season, obviously with the new head coach. How important are these three guys going to be this season, Matthew?
They're going to be huge, right? Because last year we didn't see a lot of scoring from Sagan or Ben, right? And the Stars need that. They really do need that for them to start picking up and picking, you know, their shots, and that's going to be important. Robertson can carry his own. We've seen that. But Sagan and Ben are really going to need to come through and start putting up points.
So, Nick, how far can this three-headed monster carry the Stars this season?
I mean, I agree. They do need to start doing what their paychecks at least say they should be doing. And then I also think that I mean, those three will perform. And then I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the new coach Pete is going to unlock, I feel like, Hintz and other players such as them, because I feel like he's the comparison, Mike D'Antoni of the NHL. All offense, no defense. Mike Antoni lose the D. Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, some new defensemen on this team this year too. It's going to be a little bit of a different look, obviously, with the new head coach. Some new faces. Give me some more key players to watch this season, Matthew.
So I know we're gonna go. I'm gonna give you hints, but I'll go with Denis Gurianov, man, because he signed a one-year deal in the offseason, right? And he has not been performing as much as he has been in the past, right? We saw in 2020 he went off that playoffs, but the last couple seasons has not been his thing. you know, this is a make or break year for him. If he does not perform to his standard, I'd say you cut ties with him. But we'll see.
Who do you have, Nick?
Cutting ties.
Oh, for sure.
Wow.
Well, we need as much offense as we can get. I feel Rupe Hintz, I feel like, is one of the ones that will provide that. I know I mentioned him earlier, but he was responsible for 72 of the Stars' points all season. So if that doesn't say enough already, I don't know what will.
Yeah, Hintz is certainly a huge part of that first line for the Dallas Stars. So we've talked about the new faces. Obviously, the stars of the Stars back. New head coach. What are the realistic expectations as we get into the season, Matthew?
My guess is they're going to take the second wild card spot because, as we talked, we're going to probably get into it earlier here, but the Central Division is stacked. You got Colorado, who is the defending Stanley Cup champions. They haven't had much turnover in their team. Minnesota is expected to come back and have a bigger season. Nashville, I expect to probably be in that mid-tier, probably lower than the Stars, and St. Louis will probably be ahead of them in that first wild card spot. So I'm excited to see, though, what Dallas can do. I think they can definitely exceed expectations, but for right now, I'm going to say they're going to take that second wild card spot and just barely squeak into the playoffs.
Yeah, as you mentioned, lots of good teams in that division, lots of good teams in the Western Conference in general. Nicholas, what are your expectations heading into the season?
Yeah, I know what I said. That they're going all the way. Yeah, I don't expect all of that, especially with how packed the division is. Like you said, Colorado, unless I know their two goalies that they don't have too much experience in the goal, but unless they forget that they have to be in goal, I don't think there will be much drop off with them. But yeah, I do expect us to make the playoffs and maybe make a run in there.
And the Avalanche are the defending Cup champions from last season, obviously sitting there in the Central Division as well. Who in either the division or in the Western Conference in general, Matthew, is going to be hardest for this Stars team to take on this season?
I think you got to go with Colorado or Minnesota because I watched a preseason game and Minnesota beat Dallas 5-1, and Dallas had most of their starters this season in, and they still lost to the Wild, who were playing half of their AHL guys, their bottom half guys, and they still lost. So that kind of scares me a little bit for Dallas, but I'm going to have to go Colorado because I think the defending Stanley Cup champs, really got McKinnon and Landeskog, they're going to still be as potent as ever, so they're going to have to defend against that.
Nicholas, who should they be most scared of?
Definitely, I got to say Colorado. I mean, we got to give the defending champs their respect. I mean, hopefully they'll see what the Denver Broncos are doing and get discouraged or something. But we play them, but I don't expect that to happen. So yeah, I look for Colorado to be as dominant as they were.
Yeah.
Well, it was a heartbreaking finish to the season last year, losing to Calgary in the first round. Matthew, can they make it to the second round of the playoffs this year?
Again, like we talked about, they're going to have to rely on Sagan, Ben, Hintz, Robertson, and the new guy Marchment. He can come in and provide that extra offense. He's a kind of a bruising type forward, and he can definitely expect us to get something. And Ottinger, they're going to have to ride him hard if they want to make it any further than first.
Well, it's the Stars and the Predators tonight in Nashville at 7:30 as NHL hockey is back. October is just the absolute greatest. That's it for us here on Sportszone. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NTTV_sports, and stay tuned for NTTV news coming up next.
What's this? Open that. Oh.
Wait, what?